Okay, now let's get down to business and talk about return on investment. My partner said the only thing that our clients care about is how do they get something back from what we do. And I thought I'd showcase that some of you have seen before, but it's just a very, very pragmatic overview of a typical service design project. It is for a client called Streetcar, which is an English car sharing company. They set up in London. They had about 10 cars when we contacted them because we thought sharing cars is an excellent alternative to ownership of cars. But at the time, in 2004, it was reserved for a special interest group, people that were particularly interested in the environment or people that were part of a company that used sharing cars and so on. And we went and talked to them and we found a shared ambition. Let's see if we can make car sharing mainstream also in the UK. I have to say this is based on an American concept called Zipcar. What we did there, we went through all the touch points that they had. So we looked at how do you find out about the service, how do you register for it, and so on. We started picking out the real big barriers to entry. And we found that it was a small PIN code computer in the car that you needed to use to be able to start the car. And it was so difficult to use that every time they got a new customer, they had to go out and meet the customer and show them how to use the PIN code. So it was impossible for them to grow their service. And we sat down with them and we said, all right, let's try to prototype a new way to do that. And we figured a phone service would be a fantastic idea. So you could call Streetcar and they could talk you through how to do it and get you on the road. So we created an experience prototype very, very quickly. We made some new instruction materials. We wrote a call center or a script for a lady at Streetcar to answer when people called. And then we contacted 2 new customers and gave them this new package and followed them through using the car. So in our white design offices, it's a beautiful day, everything is simple, but in reality, it's dark, it's raining, you've got your phone there and trying to get this thing started. But what happened in this case was that the people got in, they looked at the instruction material, they got the car started, and then they called Streetcar to say hello. So we realized it wasn't the call-in solution, that wasn't the right idea. It was actually the instruction material that wasn't well enough designed. So we went back to them with that message, and they were incredibly happy, of course. So after we did that, then we went through and we blueprinted their whole service in detail. This is just a part of the blueprint, and I think many people do this. We've got the customer journey on top, we've got the use cases for the programmers and for the organizational people up there, and then we just put in the pictures of the touch point along. And it's back to that drawing of the person in the middle of the touch points. I mean, if the business is siloed, how can you just provide a picture of the experience? So it's one place where you can see them across the silos of the business. Then we went in and designed all the detailed touch points. We designed their iconography, we did all their instruction materials, we did the website, very detailed interaction of the booking engine and so on. But we were able to design everything together so that there was one complete image of what Streetcar really looked like. But then we were fortunate enough to be able to test our own work afterwards. And we've put together a method that we call service usability, because we know there are really good usability methods to test websites, to test products and so on, but we couldn't find a method that would test quality across touchpoints. You can speak about customer satisfaction measures, but it doesn't really tell you anything else than people like it or they don't like it. So service usability is a method where we try to put all those things together. It's based on ServQual, thank you Bill, and usability methods from the web world. the way we put it together is that we create a number between 0 and 10 based on do people understand the proposition, and do they understand whether it will give them value or not? Is it a good experience? Is it possible to use it? And is it accessible? Then another thing we do that people really like is top 10 lists. What is it that prevents you from making money? And some of them might be really big things, so we also make a list of quick fixes. Things that you could do quickly that might potentially improve the experience quite a lot. So with Streetcar, for instance, they had, for historical reason, they had a £100 joining fee to become a member. And that was a big barrier because people had never used this type of service before, so they felt they needed to try it before they would buy it. Also, since they couldn't compare it to another service that they had already used, they had a lot of questions of how it actually worked in detail. Now, Streetcar, they took all the top 10 things and fixed it. So, for instance, in terms of creating predictability in this new type of service, you will find this 1, 2, 3 stuff all over their materials. Book, unlock, put in the pin, drive. So really trying to create an image in people's heads about what they're going to go through before they are actually there. And also, a little bit later, this one came up, no joining fee. And the numbers of people who registered went like that. Because you got all these people who thought, you know, I might just use it once, or I just want to try it. But it dramatically lowered the barrier to entry. And it wasn't there even for a particular reason. And if you look at their website now, they don't even talk about fees. I mean, why should you? So we think they're a fantastic client to work with, and I just want to show it as a very pragmatic kind of a whole process of redesigning a service. But of course, what I said I would talk about is return on investment. So we have made a triple bottom line case for the work on Streetcar, and we really like the triple bottom line. Because it also enables us to put together some really hard numbers with some really soft details to provide a total overview. So here we see the return on investment for the Streetcar and for the customer. They now have 600 cars and 20,000 members in the UK. So they've had an incredible growth. And they pulled in, I think, £14 million from the market last year, and they're planning to get listed this year. And why we think that is really interesting, we think that probably means car sharing is going mass market. So we have probably achieved what we wanted to do with them, to help them move this kind of behavior into the mass market. For the car, for the drivers, it's a great deal. Average price to own the car is £2,749 a year. Streetcar users spend around £707 per year. So very good economical argument for the customer. Environmentally, they think they've taken about 3,000 privately owned cars off the road. And it's very often the second car in the family that people don't need anymore because this provides them with transport. They think they'll prevent about 2 million tons of CO2 emissions over the next 2 years. An interesting thing here is the car industry and the environmental people, they really argue, but I think it's fair to say that probably at least a third of the emissions of a car is made in production, so not even in use. So if you reduce the number of cars, then it's good for the environment.